Okay, so we're jumping right in here on part two. I should have added this to part one, but here goes anyways. It's Tamiya's rubber black for the main coat for the wheels, and the highlight is Gunze Extra Dark SeaGrey. Just wanted to let you see all how I do it. It's pretty straightforward. Base color and a highlight. Okay, so let's explore the focus of this video, which is filters and washes. Now, I'm going to apply a filter here, and a filter is a very thin paint. We're looking at 5% paint to 95% thinner, and it's used to slightly change and modify in a subtle way the base color. So, important consideration here is that this is not the same as a dot filter, which I'll cover at another point, but essentially, it's extremely thin paint. You remove the excess onto a piece of paper, which is the best medium to remove the excess. And you want to hit up a panel or a certain area of the subject matter that you're modeling, and just go over it. It's going to be very, very, very light. There's not going to be any pooling. You're just essentially applying a very, very, very thin coat. And it can be multiple, and you'll slowly build up enough of a filter that it changes the hue and the tone of the area that you're painting. So on this particular model, I'm just choosing at random where I want to apply the filter, and in this case it is the Mig green for gray green. So I do want to avoid getting any of this paint onto the yellow if I can. But if it does get on there, it's not the end of the world. We are going to be putting some filters over the yellow as well. You can see we putting the excess off. So I'm covering this one small panel over again. And you can tell that because this gray green is slightly lighter than the base color dark green, it's going to yield an interesting sort of panel, and it's not uniform because, again, we want everything to be random. And again, I'm covering this front armored panel here as well. So I think I put a good 6 or 7 filter coats on that, but again, they are very thin. So now to change it up even further, I'm using a wash. Now, there's not that much difference between a filter and a wash. A wash is probably 90%, 85 to 90% thinner, whereas a filter is a good 95%. So it's less thinner in a wash, but you can easily convert the washes into filters by placing some of the wash in a separate container, as you can see here, and then just add more thinner to it. Remove the excess, and then apply it to the model. There's really not necessary to go out spending lots of money buying all these ready-made filters and washes kits, because you can easily get Humbrol paint and do it yourself. But because I'm sort of like this product, I'm going to be using it. So here I'm going over the dark yellow. It's a brown wash for desert yellow vehicles, and I'm just going over the yellow. It's very, very subtle, very, very slight, but it tones everything down and brings everything together, in my opinion. So in case if anyone is wondering, the brushes I use for filters are, well, in this case, it's a number 2 flat synthetic. I picked it up in my local art supply store. They're called Real Value. You get a number 1, number 3, number 5 round, and you also get a 2, 4, and 6 flat shader, and they're like $18. I live in Canada, so they're about $18. I'm sure they even less in the United States, maybe $14. They're an outfit out of Princeton, New Jersey, although they are made in China, and they're a great package. And I primarily use these sets for all the finishing I do on my models. Odorless mineral spirits thinner. You can buy the hobby brands, but I just find they're generally extremely expensive for the amount of, or at least the quantity that you get. So I think I picked, I don't know, it was I think $8 for a liter of odorless mineral spirits, whereas the same product by Mig or by Humbrol or whatever will be, maybe 5 or 6 times that. So just sending it out there. Okay, so here we're going to apply a pin wash, and a pin wash, which I do believe is short for pinpoint. I do believe it's pinpoint. Anyways, it's used to isolate certain details and areas that you want to put the wash to. And what I do anyways, is that I apply a bit of thinner over the area, a very thin coat, which I find allows the wash to blend into the surface a lot easier and to hug around those areas that where you want to have the detail accentuated. So panel lines or what have you, always put in a covering of some clean thinner. Dab most of the excess from the brush off into a paper towel so it doesn't pool. You don't want to have an excess of clean thinner before your wash. Just enough to allow it to blend smoothly. Okay, so I'm going to get on to painting the tools now. I should have done this a long time ago, but I got sidetracked. I just didn't do it. Before I got to do any more washes and other weathering stages, I figured I'd get this out of the way. So I'm using Vallejo Panzer Ace's old wood and new wood. I do use a #1 flat synthetic brush. But a lot of people like to use the round, but I find the round it's just, you just don't have the control to cover areas, especially if there's paint around that you don't want to get paint on. It's very difficult. So I use a flat brush, and if you thin the Vallejo properly, you should have no trouble whatsoever, and it's great for getting around hard to get areas on the tools and stuff. So I highly recommend a flat brush when doing that. I also use German tanker gray for uniforms, also a Panzer Ace's color by Vallejo. And I find that is the best to replicate at least the base coat for steel items like shovels or machine gun barrels or any sort of metallic. It's the base that I use. And I do other stuff to it as well, which I'll show you. But I'm just going to let some music play and let you watch the rest of this. There's not much more to go. And next week's episode, we're going to continue with some more washes, do some streaking effects, and continue on with weathering this AML-60. So again, thank you very much for tuning in and really enjoying this. And I do appreciate you checking it out. Thanks again.